Hey everybody, Bob Olson here with Afterlife TV. You can find us at afterlifetv.com. Today we're going to be talking about why do spirits attend their own funerals. The first question I usually get asked about this is, do spirits attend their own funerals? And the answer is always yes. And so the follow-up question to that is, why do they attend their own funerals? And if you don't know me, my name is Bob Olson. I am a former skeptic and private investigator who began investigating life after death after the passing of my father way back in 1997, nearly 3 decades ago. I don't know where the time has gone. So, regarding this question, why do spirits attend their own funerals? A lot of people, mistakenly think, well, they just want to see how many people showed up. That's actually not the case, but, they do see how many people show up. They are there to witness that. And obviously, there's an aspect of wanting to attend one's own, it could be a memorial service, doesn't matter, services after their passing, to feel the love that those people have for them, right? Without question, love is all there is. It's all about love. And when we go into the spiritual dimension after our life is over, without question, that is one of the most common comments about from people who have experienced that. Near-death experiences is one example of that. They go into the spirit world and they come back and tell us stories about, oh my goodness, the love. So why do spirits attend their own funerals? That could be one reason. It's not their primary reason. Their primary reason is to comfort us, those of us who have been left behind after their passing. Those of us who are family members and friends and coworkers and just loved ones, right? We can put it into that category of loved ones. And they come back to try to help us with our grief, with the emotions that we're feeling in response to the loss after their passing. And how do they do that? That's a hard one to explain. And it's interesting because I started a book that will eventually come out. And it's about this guy named Guy. And he passed. And he was met with a spirit guide named Momo. Right? I love that name. Momo happened to be his spirit guide, and these two had a great relationship. And Momo walked him through the beginnings of, coming back to the spiritual dimension after having lived a life as this person named Guy. Well, eventually, Guy and Momo end up at Guy's funeral services. And Guy had a wife named Lila and a son named Danny. And I describe really why Guy is there at his funeral service. And so I'm just going to start the story. Guy took in the scene before him as he and Momo remained silent. Momo broke the silence, whispering, "Listen, I'm going to step away. You won't see me, but I'll be nearby. You can even talk to me, you just won't see me." "What if I need your guidance?" asked Guy. Momo put his hand on Guy's shoulder. "When I step away, you're going to feel what other people are feeling, especially your wife, Lila, and your son, Danny. If it becomes too much, I'll know, and I'll pull you back. You need to feel what they're feeling, but without getting too immersed in it." Guy turned to Momo. "I'd rather you..." But Momo had disappeared. Guy's attention was drawn towards his wife and son. His face changed from indifferent to dismayed. His left hand reached for his chest, and he began to breathe deeply. "Momo, Momo, I can feel their grief. Oh dear, I can hear their thoughts. Momo, I'm not ready for this. Momo? Guy looked around, but his spirit guide did not respond. He walked down the side aisle to the front pew where Lila and Danny sat. As he passed people he knew, he felt their grief hit him like a wave of sorrow. Momo, I can feel everyone's sadness and hear everyone's thoughts. I feel their love for me, but I also feel their anger. It's too much, please. Guy's energy shifted. He felt like he had been pulled back, but he was still standing in the same location. The emotions and thoughts he'd been picking up from everyone diminished. They didn't stop, they merely faded to a more tolerable level. Thank you, Guy said, unsure of where Momo was located. He walked further toward the front until he reached the first pew. He stood in front of Lila and Danny. They appeared numb, defeated. Guy closed his eyes, taking in their pain. He breathed heavily, wondering to himself what he was supposed to do. He heard Momo's voice. Sit between them. Let them feel your presence. Guy sat between Lila and Danny on the pew and placed his arms around them. Danny straightened his body in response, appearing to feel his father's presence. Lila immediately fell to tears. Momo, she's crying. I'm not doing it right, Momo told him. She feels your energy. Tears aren't always a bad thing. She needs to mourn. Let her cry. Just sit and focus on your love for them. They will sense it. Guy did as instructed. Momo turned up the volume on what Guy felt from them as he did. The more he detected their sadness and grief, the more love he sent them. Danny began to cry, and Guy squeezed his son's shoulder. Now Lila and Danny were both sobbing uncontrollably, which also made Guy cry. The three of them resonated in grief and love. The priest approached the microphone and pulled it toward him, making it squeal. He looked over at the teenage boy in charge of the audio controls. The boy moved a lever on the mixer and nodded to the priest. Welcome, said the priest. We're gathered here today in honor of Guy Davis. As the priest began to talk, Guy noticed a beam of light behind the priest. The spirit had a hand on the man's shoulder. Guy looked at the teenage boy controlling the audio levels, and he too had a spirit at his side. He turned to look at all the people in attendance. Every person in the church had a spirit by their side with one hand on their shoulder. Guy noticed the spirits were glowing brightly, altering the energy field of the human beings in attendance. The auras of the people in the church were getting brighter and brighter. Guy had never seen an aura while he was alive. He'd heard of an energy body that surrounded the physical body, but he was never sure if it was real. Now he could see them, and each person's aura was a different color. Guy wondered if he could raise his energy and make Lila and Danny's gray auras more beautiful. He tried to will his energy to become brighter, but nothing happened. Then he recalled Momo's instruction from earlier, so he concentrated on his love for his wife and son, and his aura brightened. As his light increased, so did theirs. Guy thought about the day he and Lila married, and his light amplified. He thought about the day Danny was born, and it brightened even more. The more memories he recalled, the greater his illumination. It wasn't just his light that showed brightly. Lila and Danny glowed radiantly as well, and their gray auras turned to varying shades of purple. Guy noticed that Lila and Danny were no longer crying. As the priest gave his tribute to Guy's life, Lila and Danny had a hint of smiles on their faces. It worked, he said to Momo. My love comforted them. I get it now. I can ease their suffering. It's going to be a long road. Death is not the escape I had expected, but I'm glad it's not. If it were, Lila and Danny would be left on their own. With your assistance, I'm ready to do what I can to help them. Thank you, Momo, for showing me the way. And so that's the end of the funeral scene, and I sort of picked up in the middle there. But Ultimately, the reason I read that, because typically, it's a little boring to watch somebody read on video, but the reason I read it is because it's the best description of why spirits attend their own funerals and how it is that they comfort our grief, which is why they attend. They come for us. It's in support of us. It's not to find out how popular they were. I've heard many stories, from near-death experiences to messages through mediums to messages that have come through in dreams. Oh, there's a lot of evidence on this. And certainly, while people in spirit gain from the love that they feel from everybody who has attended their services, they're really there for us. And as described in this story that I just read, all of those people also have spirits with them who are also helping to relieve them of their grief. As it said in the story, each person had a spirit with them with a hand on their shoulder. Many people may have more than one spirit with them. We think we're all alone, and yet we have spirits who are deceased loved ones who are now in spirit, and spirit guides who are around us all the time, trying to help us through day-to-day life, through the good times and the tough times. We don't know it, and that's part of the human condition, is that we deal with this separation, this feeling of separation, and yet it's really just an illusion. I hope that answered your question. I hope this was valuable to you in some way, and I thank you for being here. I do want to remind you that I am the author of this book, Answers About the Afterlife. Thousands of people have told me that this book was a great comfort to them. It gave them comfort and peace during their grief. And for those of you who are interested in getting a reading with a psychic or a medium, mediums can communicate with spirits. I also own this website, bestpsychicdirectory.com. I use my skills as a private investigator, and because of everything that I learned in the research that I did over the years, I vet all of the psychics and mediums who are listed on there. That's just a little bit about me, and I would love to hear from you. If this was helpful to you, how you doing? Many of you I know for years, and I love hearing from you. So thanks so much for joining me again today, and I hope to see you in the next video. All right, bye-bye.